Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. In our quest for fluency, sometimes the simplest things we often overlook can actually be the most powerful.
Right. And today, we're diving deep into one of those fundamental tools, note-taking, but with a twist.
Exactly. We're zeroing in on the incredible benefits of making note-taking a core part of your English learning routine. We've got some seriously insightful material from you guys, and we're going to unpack it all.
Love it. So we're not just talking about jotting down facts. It's about actively using note-taking to understand English better, remember everything you're learning, and basically turbocharge your fluency.
That's the mission, right? We're going to be exploring why taking notes in English is so powerful, looking at different methods, smart ways to use vocabulary, and whether pen and paper or digital tools reign supreme.
Oh, and of course, we'll be sharing some really practical tips for taking notes while you're listening or reading. Like, how do you actually do this effectively?
So, to kick things off, why don't we address the elephant in the room? Why is taking notes, specifically in English, so important for anyone on this language learning journey? It might seem obvious, but the material really digs deep into the unique advantages.
Yeah, it's more than just, well, I'm learning English, so I guess I should take notes in English. The insights from your sources really emphasize this. It transforms note-taking from passively recording info to really actively engaging with the language.
I like that, actively engaging. So what are some of the concrete benefits that really stood out to you from the material? Why should we all be ditching our native language notes?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways is just how powerful it is for remembering new vocabulary. Those tricky English phrases we all struggle with sometimes. There's something about actually writing them down, the physical act, that seems to really cement them in your memory.
It is like instead of your brain just hearing it, it's also seeing it, and then it's doing the work of writing it. So it's hitting it from multiple angles.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individual words. Taking notes in English forces your brain to start organizing your thoughts directly in English. This helps you break free from that constant mental translation and start truly thinking in English, which, let's be honest, is a game changer for fluency.
That makes perfect sense. It's like you're rewiring your brain to operate in English mode. And it's not just vocabulary and sentences, right? It's like a multitasking workout for all your English skills, at least according to the material.
Absolutely. Think about it. When you're taking notes in English, you're simultaneously working on your listening or reading comprehension. You have to process what you're hearing or seeing. Then you're practicing your writing skills as you actually formulate those notes.
Right.
And the whole time you're grappling with English grammar and sentence structure, but in a very practical, applied way.
Right. It's not just about memorizing rules, it's about using them in real time to express your understanding. What do you think is the biggest thing we miss out on if we stick to taking notes in our native language?
Well, the sources are pretty clear on this. It's that direct immersion, that deep dive into the language itself. When you reach for your native language for notes, you're kind of creating a detour, right? Instead of forging that direct pathway between a concept and its expression in English, you're routing it through your native language.
Like a scenic route versus a highway.
Exactly. And the material also highlighted this fascinating idea called the generation effect. Have you ever come across that?
Oh, yeah. This is so cool. Basically, the idea is that when you actively work to create information yourself, in this case, summarizing and writing your notes in English, you're much more likely to actually remember it, way more than if you just passively absorbed it.
It makes sense, right? Think about it. If someone just gives you the answer to a question in English,
Yeah.
it might go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But if you have to figure it out yourself and then articulate that answer in English, you've really internalized it. It's yours now.
It's like the difference between being told how to bake a cake and actually getting your hands dirty and doing it yourself.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of getting our hands dirty, let's dive into the practical side of things. How should we actually go about taking these superpowered notes in English? The material you've shared explores some different methods.
Right. And the key takeaway here is that there's no one right way. Like, you don't have to transcribe every word you hear or read. It's about experimenting and finding what works best for you. But to give you a starting point, we've got a few methods outlined in the material.
Absolutely. So let's start with one that's super popular, especially for organizing info. The Cornell method. Have you ever used this one?
Yeah, I've dabbled. The basic idea is you divide your page into 3 sections. On the right, you've got the biggest section for your main notes, like during a lecture or while you're reading. Then on the left, there's a narrower column where you jot down keywords, questions, or main ideas that relate to what you've written on the right. Almost like little memory triggers.
So it's not just about taking notes. It's about making them work for you later on.
Exactly. And at the bottom of the page, you've got a space for a concise summary of the whole thing. The beauty of this for English learners is it forces you to pinpoint those most important English words and concepts, then rephrase them as questions or keywords on the left, and finally, summarize everything in your own English words.
Wow, so it's like built-in review and practice.
Yeah,
You're not just passively copying, you're actively engaging with the language at every step.
totally. And thinking specifically about that left-hand column, it becomes like your personal English vocabulary and grammar checklist. By turning those main notes into questions in English, you're flexing those sentence construction muscles and anticipating key concepts.
I love that. So Cornell method, definitely one to check out. What other methods did the material suggest?
Well, there's the outline method, which is probably familiar from school. This one's all about bullet points and indentation to show how different ideas relate to each other.
Oh yeah, like the main topic on the left, then subpoints underneath, indented it a bit more.
Exactly. The material suggests this one's great for things like lectures, podcasts, even videos, because you can really easily follow the flow of information. You see how ideas connect and build on each other in a super organized way.
It's visual hierarchy, right? Makes complex topics way easier to digest, especially in English.
For sure. And then we've got a method that's a bit more visual and free-flowing, mind mapping.
Mind mapping, I love this one. It's like letting your thoughts explode on the page.
Exactly. You start with a central idea, a keyword, right in the middle of your page, and then branch out with related ideas, concepts, even single words. It's not linear, it's more about those visual connections, and it's great for brainstorming vocabulary around a specific English theme or planning out a piece of writing.
Like building a web of English words and ideas. You see how they all connect and relate to each other.
Exactly. And because it's so visual, those connections really stick in your memory. Then the last one mentioned is the boxing method. Have you ever tried this one?
I haven't. Tell me more.
So you basically divide your page into boxes, each dedicated to a specific topic or category. Like, imagine you're learning about different types of English verbs. Each box could be for a different verb tense, or maybe you've got boxes for vocabulary related to different themes, whatever makes sense for what you're learning.
So it's about chunking information into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, especially for visual learners.
Yeah, it helps keep everything neatly compartmentalized. Again, the key message from the material is to experiment with all these methods. Try them out. See which one clicks for you, for your learning style, and the kind of English you're tackling.
So true. It's about finding a system that not only helps you capture the info, but also actively involves you in the learning process itself. Now, once you've got your method down, you've got to actually get those notes down right, whether it's pen on paper or fingers on a keyboard. And the material offers some really interesting advice on how to use vocabulary strategically when you're taking notes in English.
Yeah. Speed and clarity are key here, especially when you're trying to keep up with someone speaking at a natural pace or jotting down thoughts while you're reading. That's where using short forms, symbols, and focusing on simple, direct vocabulary becomes super helpful.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about these shortcuts is how they not only save time, but also train your brain to think more efficiently and contextually in English. What are some of the examples mentioned in the material?
Well, instead of writing out with every single time, you could use W or BC instead of because. And then symbols. Think about it. A right pointing arrow, that's a quick way to show a result or consequence. An up arrow means increase. And the not equal to sign, that's perfect for showing a difference or contrast.
Those are so intuitive and so much faster than writing out the whole word every time.
Right. And the material also emphasizes using simple verbs and nouns whenever possible. No need for super complex sentences if a short phrase gets the job done.
Oh, and there's that great example in the material where they take the sentence, when you read in English, your vocabulary improves, and turn it into reading a Kura vocab.
Perfect example. Concise, clear, and it hits all the key points. And the cool thing is, just by creating and using these shortcuts, you're training your brain to understand English faster. It's like building your own personalized shorthand code for English, specifically for note-taking.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And that personal aspect is important. The material really encourages listeners to create their own system. Use abbreviations and symbols that make sense to you that you'll actually remember and use consistently.
Totally. The more you use them, the more intuitive they become, and the faster you'll be able to get those thoughts and ideas down in English. Okay, now for a big debate. In this digital age, what's better for taking notes when you're learning English? Pen and paper, or embracing all those fancy digital tools?
Ah, the age-old debate. And the material doesn't take sides, thankfully. It lays out the benefits and drawbacks of each, specifically for English learners, which is super helpful because there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
So let's start with old school handwriting. In this digital world, it might seem a little, well, old-fashioned, but the material actually presents some really compelling reasons why physically writing things down, especially in English, can be incredibly beneficial.
Right, so we all know handwriting is slower than typing. But get this, studies show that the physical act of forming letters by hand actually engages different parts of your brain. And this deeper cognitive engagement, well, it can lead to better memory and understanding of what you're learning. Because handwriting kind of forces you to be more active, to process and summarize info as you go. You can't just mindlessly copy everything down.
Makes sense. You have to be way more selective with handwriting. But let's be real, digital note-taking has some major advantages too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, typing is definitely faster. And that can be crucial when you're trying to keep up with a fast-talking English speaker. Plus, digital notes are so easy to edit, organize, search through, saves a ton of time when you're reviewing. And you've got the bonus of easily adding links, images, all that good stuff.
So both have their strengths. What does the material recommend? Choose one or try to somehow combine them?
It actually suggests a blended approach. Play to the strengths of each method. For example, handwrite notes during a live lecture or podcast, taking advantage of that deeper processing. Then, later, transfer those notes into a digital format using something like Notion or OneNote.
That way you get the best of both worlds. And speaking of digital tools, the material mentions a few that are especially helpful for English learners.
Yeah, like Google Keep. It's great for quick notes and ideas. Then there's Anki and Quizlet. They're amazing for turning those notes into flashcards for really effective vocabulary practice and memorization.
Perfect. So the takeaway is, choose the right tool for the job, and don't be afraid to mix and match. Now let's get really specific. How can we effectively take notes while we're listening to English? Because let's be real, it can be tough to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, whether it's podcasts, lectures, videos, it's a crucial skill. Thankfully, the material provides a clear, step-by-step strategy. What's the first step, the most important thing to focus on when you're listening?
It emphasizes listening for the main idea. What's the overall topic? What's the speaker's main point or argument? What are the key supporting ideas they're using? Nail that big picture first, and it'll make taking more detailed notes much easier.
That makes sense. It's like building a framework for all the info that follows.
Exactly. Step 2 is all about embracing those pause and replay buttons. Seriously, don't be shy. If the speaker's going too fast or there's new vocabulary you need to jot down, hit that pause button, rewind if you need to. You're in control of the pace.
Such a simple but powerful tip. So many people try to power through and end up missing key info.
Right. Now, step 3. This is where we really get into the nitty-gritty of note-taking. Focus on keywords and short phrases. Don't try to write down every single word. It's all about extracting those essential nuggets. New vocabulary, key facts, important examples, the speaker's main points. That's your gold.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Using those shortcuts and being efficient with your language.
Exactly. And the final step, the one a lot of people skip, is leaving space for review. Whether it's a margin on your page or extra lines in a digital document, this is where you'll go back later to add things like definitions of new words, maybe translations if that helps you, or any extra thoughts or connections that pop up later.
It's like building on those initial notes, making them even more valuable for your learning.
Exactly. And as a bonus tip, use different colors, highlighting, or symbols to organize your notes. Maybe one color for new vocabulary, another for grammar, a symbol for important examples. Whatever works for you. This visual coding makes everything so much easier to review and understand later on.
Love that. Now let's switch gears and talk about another crucial skill, taking notes while reading in English.
Reading offers a fantastic opportunity for this kind of active engagement, doesn't it? It's not just about passively absorbing the words on the page.
Absolutely. It's about interacting with the text, digging deeper. What are some of the key techniques the material suggests?
Well, a very basic one is highlighting or underlining new vocabulary as you read. This makes it super easy to look them up later or create flashcards. But we can go further than that. The material also suggests writing brief summaries of each paragraph or section right in the margin.
Like a mini test of your comprehension, right there in the margin. And it's fantastic writing practice, summarizing in English.
Totally. Another powerful technique is asking yourself questions as you read, like, what's the main idea of this page? What's the author trying to say here? This forces you to actively search for the core message, not just skim through.
Love that. And sticky notes. Don't forget the power of sticky notes.
Right. They're so versatile. Jot down questions, make connections to other things you've learned, elaborate on a point that really resonates with you. They're like little thought bubbles helping you dig deeper.
Oh, and the material gives a great example of what this might look like in practice. Remember that one about an article on climate change?
Yes, it's something like climate, GJEC, C, LVL, OE, tosses CO2, deforest, USLIN, green energy, reduce emissions. So concise, right? Using symbols and abbreviations to really capture the essence of the information. And that's the key point here. This active note-taking forces you to think critically in English, to build those connections between words, ideas, and their meanings.
It's about making English a part of your thinking process, not just something you passively absorb. Okay, so you've taken all these amazing notes. What's the absolute most crucial next step?
Review. We cannot stress this enough. The material hammers this point home. Taking notes is just the beginning. To really benefit, to make that knowledge stick, you've got to review regularly and actively.
So how should our listeners be reviewing their English notes? What does the material recommend?
Well, firstly, even just a quick 5-10 minute daily review can make a huge difference. Keeps everything fresh in your mind. Another great technique. Say your notes out loud. It's not just about reviewing the content, it's also pronunciation practice.
2 birds with 1 stone. I love it. What else?
The material also suggests using your notes to quiz yourself. Cover up sections and try to recall the info. If you wrote down questions, try to answer them now. And finally, summarize. Either write a new summary in a different way or explain it out loud as if you're teaching someone.
Teaching is such a powerful learning tool, even if you're just teaching it back to yourself.
Exactly. It forces you to really understand the material, not just memorize it. And then there's this really cool pro tip, which takes things to the next level.
Ooh, tell me about this one.
It suggests turning your notes into different formats, like create a script based on your notes, make flashcards, or even record a short video where you try to teach the material to someone else.
It's like taking ownership of the information, becoming the teacher.
Right, and it's a fantastic way to solidify your understanding. When you have to explain something to someone else, you really find out where the gaps in your knowledge are. Okay, before we wrap things up, let's talk about some common note-taking mistakes that English learners often make.
It's good to be aware of these so we can avoid them, right? What's the first one that comes to mind?
The biggest one is trying to write full sentences. Resist that urge. Stick to short phrases, keywords, abbreviations. It's faster and it keeps your brain engaged.
Another one is taking too many notes. Trying to write down absolutely everything you hear or read. Remember, it's about being selective. Focus on the main ideas, those key supporting points, and the most important vocabulary.
Less is more. And of course, a classic mistake, not reviewing your notes. Make review a regular part of your routine, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Consistency is key. And just to reiterate a point we made earlier, avoid the trap of writing your notes primarily in your native language. Stay in English as much as possible. That's where the magic happens.
Right. And while we're on the subject of staying in English, let's emphasize something really important. Don't just blindly copy slides or transcripts. Summarize in your own words. That's what makes the information truly yours.
Okay, so to wrap up this awesome deep dive, let's recap.
We explored why taking notes in English is so incredibly beneficial. We looked at different methods like Cornell, outlining, mind mapping, and boxing. We talked about using smart vocabulary and those all-important shortcuts. We debated digital versus handwritten notes. And we shared specific strategies for listening and reading, plus how to review effectively.
And the big takeaway is, your goal isn't to create a perfect transcript. It's to create notes that actually help you learn, that improve your memory, and that deepen your understanding of English.
Exactly. So your challenge is to start using these strategies right now, today. Make note-taking in English a habit.
And as you start taking those notes, I want you to consider this. How might this active, engaged approach to learning not only boost your English skills, but also change how you process information in any context, making you a more effective learner and communicator overall?
That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the power of note-taking. See you next time.
See you then.